here's where this conversation begins. And let me know in the comments how you guys feel. Hit that like button if you agree. Subscribe to the page, of course. What has Dominique Robinson done since week 1? The conversation that we have.
Hey, you went back to him after we talked about him all yesterday?
The conversation that we have, because here's the reason why, right? The conversation that we have on Travis Gibson being cut, not traded, being cut, changes greatly when Travis Gibson tweets out today, on top of everything that we know, also, I did not request a trade. So Ryan Poles basically told Travis Gibson through this entire process, you no matter what you're doing, right? We're not going to go to you. And this is why this irritates me. And I get it. It happens with every regime. There, of course, was going to be one that we were going to look at and be like, what the heck happened in this situation? Why is this guy not on the team? Why are we not sitting in here?
So run that back for me though.
But what? Let me.
Do your thing. Do your thing. My fault.
Basically, what he did was say, I drafted Dominique Robinson last year. I believe that Dominique Robinson is going to be better than what he showed in year 1 because he was playing wide receiver 2 years ago. And so it's going to take him some time to get used to this role. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Dominique Robinson over Travis Gibson, Rasheem Green over Travis Gibson, when I don't care 3-4-4-3. His hands in the dirt. He's trying to get to the quarterback. He's someone that can do that. Now, I understand the politics that happen, but at the end of the day, Travis Gibson is a better player than Dominique Robinson. He's a better player than Rasheem Green. He's a better player. Like Terrell Lewis, to me, may have outplayed him, but you never gave Travis Gibson the opportunity at any point in this camp. He was never with the ones. He was always with the 2s and the 3s to show I can do this with the ones on this team. That's my only issue.
So I have to ask this question too, and you would know more than most of us here, with being a little more tapped in now, right? Shout out to you, my boy. That's what's up. Shout out to you, right? Like flex. But getting back to the question, one, what? Like he didn't ask for a trade, so where did that report come from? And 2, why was there no clarity? Now it's not his. I want to say this. This is just that directly to Mike. He doesn't owe the fans any clarity. It's one of those things where he was on the field when this really started to pick up. Like he was on the field when it first was announced.
He knew.
But he
That's
knew.
What it is. He knew. He knew that he was, because here's the thing. Remember, the Bears granted him the right to seek a trade. If he didn't request to be traded, that means Ryan Poles or Matt Eberflus or the group collecting of them came to him and said, you're not going to make this team. If you would like to go somewhere specific, we will trade you there. Or we will try to get a trade there for you.
Now that's totally different than he requested for a trade.
That's a very different situation. Now, I don't know.
That's actually like looking out for you though, if you think about it.
Well, not really. You're gonna cut me. I'm gonna be a free agent. I can go anywhere I want.
Yeah, but waiving him, he's still under his normal contract. Like a team could pick him up on a wire, but like he still gets paid the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. But
it doesn't even matter. Like if a team wants him, they can now get him.
If they want him, they can go get him. I think that it's one of those things where, to me, right, Travis Gibson, it's the Roquan Smith situation, right? And I think that certain things were handled poorly in that situation. The contract that was offered to him, how it was structured, things like that. I think those were handled poorly. But basically, Ryan Poles is saying, that's his way of saying, I don't want you to be here. Like, I don't have a role for you. We don't have a spot on you for this team. Where the team is heading, you're not going to be a part of that. You find yourself somewhere else. I don't agree with it. Now, I will say this. I get it. This is regime changes. There were players that were on this team when Ryan Pace came in that we said, if you're going to keep anybody, keep him. Ain't keep him. This happens with every regime change. There's going to be casualties. At the end of the day, you want to know what we can find again? Travis Gibson.
We can find an entire defense. Find what we've done Travis our entire lives.
Gibson. I'm not worried about finding another Travis Gibson. But what it also says is I'm willing to Dominique Robinson basically had to do nothing to make this team. And I don't like that. Because he's basically done nothing all preseason. He's done nothing in training camp that's been of any ilk to me to show me that he's made this leap from last season. The last time we saw him do something is when he got a sack and a half in week 1 versus Trent Williams. And I don't know if y'all know that. That was like literally a year ago.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is?
By the way, how many sacks did he finish the season with last year?
2, I think.
No, sack and a half. It all happened that first game.
Oh, well. Sack and a half. So, but here's the funny thing though. Now this case is slowly being. There's no perfect GM, so I want people to understand that. For every good GM, there's 1,001 like mistakes that they made. We just praise the things that hit. So let's be real. But it goes to show like this slow case of, or how hard the job is for one, or the slow case of saying, hey, you know, we love Ryan Post, love the fact that the Bears are moving in this direction, but there's still some reasons for us to be like, hey, dog, you tripping because. Now you talk about Dominique Robinson. I have to agree with that. I really ain't heard much for him. I am very big on the fact that a guy who cost you games and has not learned, made the same mistake game 1 of a preseason shouldn't be on your roster. I think that's just a given. That's a given in any sport. I don't know why it didn't happen now. So those are some of the decisions. I'm like, hey, you got to really help me understand. You and on top of that, it's a pride thing because you drafted him probably higher than you should have. We've been discussing him since you drafted, not in a good way. And then on top of that, he stays on the roster when he really didn't need to. And now it's not just one, but you have multiple guys in which we're questioning. It's like, yo, you know, if this starts to go left, we're going to be coming back to these moments like, hey, the decision making wasn't always on point. Then if you want to look at this is how narrative shift. It starts there if things go left, but then people are going to talk about how contract negotiations were handled and stuff like that. It seems good when like you seem like you're riding the ship.
Yeah.
But it could be painted a totally different way if things go left. And so that's why it's like one of those things where I'm not saying this about polls. I'm just saying be mindful of the narrative, be mindful, understand how heavy these situations are, because it only takes one bad season for people to start saying, hey, polls don't know what he's doing.
Well, listen, if at the end of this year, right, that we already know what's coming, right? Like, listen, if at the end of this year, the Chicago Bears don't go out and win 7+ games, everyone's going to say he doesn't know what he's doing. We know that that's coming.
We know it's happening.
You know what I mean? Listen, Ryan Pace won GM of the year. Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year. 2 years later, we all looked around and were like, what the heck's going on here? Who are the clowns running this show? Not rightfully so. There was some clown things going on there. You know, Pat Mahomes and Deshaun Watson don't play for us. So, you know, it kind of goes into that. But
yeah.
I just, you know, to me, I can live with a Trevis Gipson because you still got some really good defensive linemen on this team, right? Andrew Billings is a big body up the middle. You added Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue is a great add. You added Yannick Ngakoue on a prove-it deal to get to the quarterback. That's a great add. You've got DeMarcus Walker, who now gets to be your number 2 again and comes on the other side of Yannick Ngakoue. That's a great add. I think that there's some really good moves that he made. Listen, I don't like when this is more so me being what's the word for it, right? This is more so me being like the Robin Hood, I guess. I don't like, you know, favoring the rich and taking from the poor. And in this situation, there was never any worry that DeMarcus or Dominique Robinson wasn't going to make this team. There was never, like, I never in my mind was like, Dominique Robinson won't make this team. Now, I said many times he shouldn't make this team. He hasn't done anything. He's looked bad, but there was never a thought in my mind where I thought he's not going to make this team. And I don't like when I see stuff like that, because you got to show me. I can't just give you, right, like, whatever you want to say about Justin Fields and how he threw the ball, at a minimum, guess what? I've seen quarterbacks win using their legs. I've seen quarterbacks get all the way to the Super Bowl using their legs and completing 52% of their passes. It's Cam Newton. He also won MVP that season.
That's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can see, I've seen Justin Fields scenario work multiple times. Mike Vick is going to the Hall of Fame. Mike Vick is going to the Hall of Fame, right? Maybe don't take.
Hey, you know what, Colin Kaepernick?
Colin Kaepernick, but here's the thing: Colin Kaepernick was so inaccurate that his legs stopped working. Justin Fields isn't that inaccurate.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Because right, Colin Kaepernick was the type of Colin Kaepernick was the type of quarterback where his speed wasn't like, it was his size and him being able to like throw you off on, okay, you can't sit here and put a spy on me because I might throw this mug. His best passing season, he was able to run all over the place.
The reality of
being
it is,
mad and accurate.
We can name a host of QBs who had a really good season. I mean, listen, Tim Tebow went on a freakishly good run in the NFL.
Yeah,
he can't even get that man's out there trying out for tight end positions at this point. Realistically.
Tim Tebow just getting that money. You know what I love about Tebow too, which is
a really likable guy.
No, that too, but you also don't see it a ton, right? Like I think Orlovsky knows the game of football, but he absolutely is a clickbait hot take guy. I think Tim Tebow actually just knows the game of football and wasn't talented enough to play it at the NFL level. Like he
wasn't talented to play. He wasn't a traditional QB by any
but he really understands like the ins and outs of football.
Yeah.
Like he literally, like he'll sit there and he can dissect. He can tell you where the defense is, what they're running, how they should be lined up, how you should attack that defense. He just can't do it.
Yeah, he wasn't an accurate QB.
And so, he didn't want to be a backup.
And he should have been a backup. He's Taysom Hill for sure. But
he didn't want to do that either. He didn't want to be Taysom Hill.
He's definitely Taysom Hill.
He didn't want to be Taysom Hill. He was like, no, I'm throwing this mug. And they was like, you can't. It didn't go 15 yards.
I always wonder what happens with that. Like, why can't a QB in a professional league, like, you know how people get better year over year?
Yeah.
Like, why does that not happen for certain people? Like in basketball, you can see people get better year over year, even if they get older. As a QB, like, why couldn't he work on his accuracy? Why couldn't?
Because at a minimum,
like, why couldn't Cam? Well, Cam had shoulder injuries, which
Cam got beat up. They used Cam basically as a tall running
back. That's different. His body didn't allow him. But Tim Tebow wasn't beat up. So, like, why couldn't he just work that part out?
I think it was just different, right? Like Tim, realistically, not to say he was the first, but you wasn't using quarterbacks like that. You wasn't using quarterbacks as the dude that you was just, and Tim ain't got Cam Newton run what, a 4.4? What's Tim Tebow 40 times? Tim Tebow's like a 4.5. like he ain't Cam. Yeah. Cam's shoulder fell off. Basically, it turned into brisket. Yeah, I mean, Cam's shoulder turned into brisket.
Here's an interesting thing, though, just to steer the conversation back to what we were just talking about. 17 of the 21 players that Poles has drafted earned a spot.
Yeah. And here's the wild part. It's not right. Everybody, like Travis Bell is cut. We drafted him this year. And Travis Bell looked okay. Travis Bell he's probably gonna be on the practice squad if he doesn't get picked up. He looked okay. Yeah, I mean, like, so there's times where he shows it, but like there's other times where it's just like the Trevis Gipson move to me was
Williamson got cut.
You say who?
And Williamson.
Yeah. The Trevis Gipson cut to me was, we're not going to pay you long term. We're probably, and I also don't know, right? It might even be, hey, listen, I'm not dealing with clutch. Like, you're not gonna, like when they take over the league, maybe I'll deal with that, but I'm not going to deal with clutch. I'm not going to deal with
Clutch's reputation is not being spoken of highly as it used to.
I mean, listen, they get the job done, though. It don't matter.
They definitely get the job done.
They get the job done. Listen, usually if you getting a bunch of money out of me, I'm not going to view you very highly.
Hey, Breeze Nation, I promise you all, we're definitely going to get one of those agents on this thing. I want to get a real agent on here to help us understand some stuff. It's so fascinating when you understand how these contracts work. Say what?
Let's get Rich Paul. Let's call him.
Why not?
Why not? Let's get Rich Paul on here. Yeah,
right.
Hit him up.
No? We need to get the vice president on here. Vice president of the bid. He was a lawyer. He knows how to read these contracts.
Are you talking about Ted Phillips?
We need to get him on here.
Ted Phillips ain't coming on here. I don't know if I can get Ted Phillips on here without being like, hey, man, why you ain't approve all these deals that could have made us better all over? Nah.
Just don't do that. Don't do it. See,
we
the
had,
moment you
we
mentioned
had
that,
Donovan.
the
We
podcast,
had the Chicago Kid. Why didn't you approve the trade? Just start losing it on him.
Yeah, no, you done lost it already. Just the simple fact that you made a joke about it, we ain't gonna never get him on here.
Yeah,
They gonna pull that up. Like, remember these guys said this about you.
How dare I tell the truth about how he made our football team worse? This tweet came out from Kevin Fishbane earlier with Travis Gibson and Kendall Vildor waived. Only 9 Ryan Pace draft picks remain on the roster. Cody Whitehair, Eddie Jackson, Cole Kmet, Jalen Johnson, Darnell Mooney, Justin Fields, Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borum, and Khalil Herbert.